everyone, and welcome to this month's board game brunch. This is normally my solo Q&A, but this month I figured I would bring a special guest along. So everybody say hi to Ambie.
Hi, everyone.
Ambie, I'm so happy you were able to join me for this episode. Obviously, I don't mind sitting here for an hour and talking with the chat. In fact, we've actually had a lot of fun the past few months doing that, but I figured it might be a little more interesting and dynamic if you came on with me. And plus, then now they can throw some questions at you. Like if anyone in the chat has any questions for Ambie about her 18XX series that has been ongoing on the Dice Towers channel or anything else, now would be the time to throw those questions at her. So we're going to hang out and chat for a little bit. Feel free to drop any questions you all may have into the chat in YouTube, and we will be happy to answer them. So Ambie, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm ready for Halloween.
Yeah, I know
Well,
you've been
almost.
working on your costume, right?
Yeah, I have it here.
So are you telling people what it is, or is it a secret? Okay.
Well, I've been posting pictures on Instagram and Twitter, I think. But yeah, I've been making a Cinderella dress. So it's here.
Ooh.
Originally, I wanted to make a transforming dress, but I don't have the skills to do that in the time frame that I had. So I decided to just make the dress first and then try to make it transforming in the future.
That's pretty cool. I think that's a noble pursuit, the transforming one specifically. But honestly, just by itself, that looks really great. And someone in the chat did ask, what are your costumes? So obviously we know you're going to be Cinderella. And in a previous live stream, I don't remember if it was my Q&A or a Dice Tower Tonight. I think it was Dice Tower Tonight. I actually showed off some of my past Halloween costumes that I've done, where I was Shell from the video game Portal, and Linda from Bob's Burgers, and Robin Sparkles from How I Met Your Mother. So not Robin, the main character, but her Canadian 80s pop star alter ego. I go pretty niche with my Halloween costumes, but it's weird. My life has been a little bit busy and stressful the past few months, and so I don't actually have a costume this year, which is crazy. I always go all out for Halloween, and this year I don't have anything, so I'm kind of bummed. I don't know. My work does a costume contest, but since Halloween is on a Wednesday in the middle of the week, it's so weird.
Yeah.
I might try and I might put on one of my older costumes or throw something together. I have a TARDIS dress, like a Doctor Who TARDIS. So I might just wear that to work, just to wear something. Because that's what's funny is you have to dress business casual unless you're dressing in costume. They don't let you dress just regular casual, even though it's Halloween. So that's pretty funny, but. Yeah, if anybody has any really good ideas for a last-minute costume, I would definitely be down to hear those. I've gone with pun stuff in the past. Oh, I do have my Smarty Pants still. Okay, so I have a pair. I did this for work a few years ago. Yeah, okay, so me and the rest of the people in my department at my old job all went as visual puns because, of course, we did. Anyone who knows me is not surprised by this. So, one of them was a ceiling fan. So they were dressed up in a cheerleader uniform with pom-poms, and it said "Go Ceilings" on their shirt. It's a ceiling fan. And then I was a Smarty Pants. I had a pair of pink pajama pants, and I pinned / super glued more than 100 packs of Smarties to those pants, like the candy Smarties, Smarties are different in the United States and Canada. In the United States, it's a horrible, chalky, weird candy, but in Canada I know they're made of chocolate, and they're more I think they're more like M&Ms, or there's something else that you can liken them to. I remember hearing about this at one point, but regardless, I think I still have those pants, although now I'm questioning where I've put pants that have candy all over them. I mean, admittedly, Smarties isn't a type of candy that's gonna cause problems long term, I don't think. And now I'm going to go look for some pants and candy after this, just to make sure that nothing horrible has happened wherever those are stored. Go ceilings. So a ceiling fan. You're a fan of ceilings. Go ceilings. Hopefully that was clear enough. Yeah, so you're like a cheerleader. Yay, go ceilings. You know?
I get it.
I know. Somebody in the chat is unsure, but... So yeah, I'm up for other things. Maybe I'll wear the Smarty Pants. Maybe I'll wear the TARDIS dress. I don't know. I don't like to wear costumes more than once, which is really silly because I spend a lot of money on my costumes and then I wear them once and never again.
Yeah, I still have my costume from last year and haven't worn it, but I don't know. Like my brother was saying that his niece had like a 1-year birthday party where they had a princess come and like do face painting and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I can be a princess for your kid's birthday party when you have a kid. So maybe I'll reuse my costumes for that.
There you go. That sounds like a great idea. Oh, wow. Somebody just finished the transforming costume of Optimus Prime for their son. That's pretty cool.
I did something like that a couple of years ago at work, but it was my car. And so I made it out of cardboard.
What was your favorite costume that you wore when you were a kid? Did you have anything that stuck out?
I don't know. Maybe like the pink Power Ranger because I was obsessed with Power Rangers.
I mean, who wasn't really? Like, yeah. I think honestly, and you'll like this. One of my favorites was when I got to dress up as Belle from Beauty and the Beast. But it's also one of my kind of worst Halloween memories. Like, not that it was horrible, but I lived in Missouri and it was cold at the end of October usually. So my mom made me wear this hideous white turtleneck underneath my Belle dress. And I was very upset because it ruined it. Obviously, it did not ruin it. But as a child,
yeah,
like, no, Belle has open shoulders. You're ruining the dress, Mom. But it's okay. So Gary Jans, I'm not sure where he's from, so I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Sorry, Gary. Just backed 18 Lilliput on Kickstarter and wants to know if you have seen or played it. I'm assuming he means you because I know that question's not for me.
I saw it on Kickstarter, but I have not played it and I did not back it. So I didn't really look much into it.
Because you don't, for context, you almost do no Kickstarters at all.
Yeah, I've done 3 in my life, I think.
I'm not going to look up my number because I got my super backer status this year, and that means I had backed at least 25 projects in the span of a year. So I backed a lot, and although not as many as some people, for the record. But that's no judgment, whether you've backed 0 Kickstarters or 1,000. Live your life. It's all good.
Yeah, I just like getting games when they're out so I can just have them right away.
Yeah, I do. I will admit there have been some games that I backed on Kickstarter that by the time they arrived, I'm no longer interested. Somebody asked if you have any more 18xx videos coming up on the Dice Tower.
I will. I haven't made any yet because I kind of got busy at work and haven't thought of what to do for my next video, but I have some ideas now and I need to get unbusy first.
That is always the ultimate problem. And just so everyone watching knows, in case you have questions, both Ambie and I are going to be at BGG-Con in 2 weeks? Is that?
Oh my gosh.
Is it?
Yeah, it's in November. I haven't started planning anything for it.
Hold on. How far away is this now? I literally just booked
it is 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks and 3 days. Holy cow, that is soon. I just booked my plane tickets a couple days ago. But I have them now. So if anybody's going to be at BGG-Con, I know that the Dice Tower will not formally have a presence there, but we will be there. So if you want to connect with somebody in the Dice Tower, we're your gals, and we would love to hang out with any of you that are going to be there. And if you have questions about what we're planning on doing there, we have something really fun related to the podcast that we do, Board Game Blitz, in case anyone is not aware. But we had a fun stretch or a funding goal on our Patreon, and we hit it just recently, and I am so excited because we're gonna eat some gross stuff, which is what we do when people give us money on the internet, apparently, because we did Bean Boozled before. That's over on the Board Game Blitz YouTube channel if anybody wants to see Ambie and I eat gross jelly beans. Yeah. Let's see here. Will there be a new top 10 horror games list with Halloween being just around the corner? So Craig, I can't actually give you the answer to that question, not because I don't want to, but because I don't know. So while Ambie and I are part of the core Dice Tower team, since we aren't in Florida with the main group of guys, we don't actually, I don't always know the production schedule. In theory, I could look it up for you, but I don't know if that information is something, sometimes Tom talks about top 10s in advance and sometimes he doesn't. And I have not heard about a top 10 horror games list coming out soon, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. So keep an eye on the channel and hopefully they will be doing that soon. And I wish I could do any top 10s with them. I keep saying I'm going to fly to Florida and crash the party one of these days, but flying to Florida is expensive and far. So sometime eventually, Kabuki Kid said, I had a great homemade frog costume when I was a kid. My mom made it for me. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Lots of people saying that their moms made clothes or made costumes for them. Robin Hood, astronaut. I don't think almost any of my costumes were homemade. I want to say most of mine were store-bought. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Oh, okay. So Gary is from Belgium. So I'm assuming Jan's was closer, probably, than my first guess on the name. I don't know. Says he doesn't do a lot of Kickstarters, and he's never really played an 18xx, and that one is supposed to be a good entry point because it's really basic. So that's good to know. I would imagine the ones that come to Kickstarter are often either like one end of the spectrum or the other, like the easy entry point stuff or the really, really intense ones, but who knows? Someone asks, will we be able to play 18xx games with Ambie at any Dice Tower Con?
At any Dice Tower Con?
Because there's 2 now, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you'll be at both of them.
Maybe. You can message me on BGG or email me, and then we could try to play at it. But I don't want to fill up the whole schedule with 18xx games because there are so many other games too. And
what you could do is, I know that they've moved the Jack Vassal Memorial Fund auction to the spring for this year.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're going to do a kind of a smaller one now around the time that they normally do the big one. But for the big one in the spring, maybe you could put an item on there about 18xx games for regular Dice Tower Con in July.
Okay. I'll try to remember.
That would be pretty cool. I'm sure you've probably gotten a lot more people interested in 18xx games with that series of videos because it's awesome. Otter says hi. I met the Dice Tower crew in Essen. It was so much fun. Crystal, you really need to come next year. I know I mentioned this on the last Dice Tower tonight, and I was kind of giving Tom a hard time. Obviously, they didn't choose to not bring me or Ambie or, anyone else that didn't go. It's just a matter of obviously getting to Europe and all of that time is pretty expensive. So I would love to be at Essen next year. I have no idea if that's going to be possible or not. So I am hopeful that at some point I will make it over there. My only time in Germany was literally I flew into Frankfurt, was there for a couple hours, and flew back out again. So the Frankfurt airport is all I've seen. And that was back in 2005. Wow, that was 13 years ago. That is crazy. I was 20 years old. I was very young. Somebody said, eat the old Smarties. I wonder if they're talking about the gross food challenge. Honestly, I would totally be willing to eat the Smarties only because Smarties are gross already and they're just chalk tasting. So how much worse could they get? That's probably.
I like Smarties.
Oh, well then maybe, so let's see, how many years ago would I have made those pants? It was probably 5 or 6 years ago. So I could look on my Facebook and find pictures and figure out the date exactly, but let's see here. Hi, people that were late to the party. You're totally fine. We'll be on here for a while. So a lot of people saying their moms made them costumes. Somebody asked if we are coming to PAX Unplugged. And the answer?
No.
No. I know. It's so funny. I really wish I could just drop everything in my regular life, notably my job, and travel to board game conventions all over all the time and spend lots of time hanging out with fans of the Dice Tower and everything else. But vacation time is in short supply, it seems. Mm-hmm. And so it is hard for me to get away and honestly, so what's tough for Ambie and I specifically is the cons that happen on the east side of the country, even the ones that are kind of more toward the middle, those are harder for us to get to because the time difference means that you have to spend an entire day traveling on the front of the trip with nothing happening really. And then all of the time for the trip itself and for the event itself. And PAX Unplugged is very far. So Same thing with conventions like Granite Games Summit, which I've always wanted to go to, but is really far away. And this year, it's actually the same time as Dice Tower West, so it wouldn't have been an option anyway. Let's see here. Oh, you liked the dice. Okay, so Michael Drew said, I liked your likeness dice tower that they have for sale at Essen. Yeah, so Tom, I'm wondering if I can pull up a picture of this. I will try and do that while I'm talking. But Tom and the gang have a bunch of plexi, like plastic dice towers that they are showing off, or they were showing off over at Essen. I assume Essen is kind of wound down at this point, although the time difference is escaping me, so I'm not certain. And yeah, they had dice towers with my little dice avatar and my dice doggos on it, and it's pretty cute.
Yeah, they're so cute.
I don't know if I know my password. Let's see. Oh, hey, I do. Good job, me. Now I just have to go to wherever I posted it. I'm going to try and find it and see if I can put it on the screen so you guys can see, because it is pretty cute.
Oh, meanwhile, Gary asks if there's any 18xx game that work with a lower player count, 2 to 3 players. So there are some that play with 2 players, but I don't know if they're as good. So I haven't played a 2-player 18xx game in like 2 years. So I remember liking 1860 with 2 players, but I don't know if I still would now that I've played more. And there's also, I think, 18CZ has a 2-player variant. 1846 has a 2-player variant. A lot of these are variants and not like the actual game. So you normally need at least 3 players for most of them. I've been playing 1849 a lot. Well, not a lot, but like a little bit recently, and that's really fun and it works really well with 3 players. So 1849 is good with 3 players. 1889 too, yes.
Okay, I believe that worked. So you people should be able to see the dice tower. It is pretty darn cute. And I didn't see the dogs at the bottom at first. I just saw the top of it and I was like, oh, look, it's me with my little doggo. And then the ones at the bottom, somebody pointed out to me. I think Eric actually pointed them out. He was like, hey, did you see those? So I am loving that dice tower, like for real. So I hope some people got to pick one of those up. And hopefully my camera should be back now, in theory, if I did that right. I'll just go over to the stream and make sure that it switches back over. So let's see. I also have to pull the chat back up. All right. What are your favorite horror movies in honor of Halloween? I'll let you answer first, Ambie.
I don't really like horror movies, so I don't think I have a favorite.
Well, do you have any, though, that you have watched and liked, like even older ones?
I guess Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, yeah. I'm always down to talk about anything related to Thomas Harris's novels or Hannibal Lecter stories in general.
Yeah. But yeah, most of the time I don't like just like horror for the sake of horror, which a lot of them tend to be, or like gore. I don't like gore.
I'm kind of in the same like mindset. There are actually a lot of horror movies that have really interesting stories behind them, and I like the stories, but too much gore I can't handle. And what's worse for me is I cannot handle jump scares. Like I know theoretically there's, things that happen in your brain chemistry based on, like, you've got the anticipation and then the release after the jump happens, and that is euphoric for some people, like that whole process. I just turn into a wreck of anxiety and awfulness. And a lot of modern horror movies, even if they have good stories behind them, they tend to use a lot of jump scares. So I can't do a lot of modern stuff. I would say I do like a lot of older horror movies. I really like The Exorcist. I like The Shining, although that one's less, it's not super horror, I guess. That's more like thriller? No.
I haven't seen The Shining.
Classified as. I like The Shining. It's weird, definitely, but it's good. And Jack Nicholson is really good in it. Although once you hear the stories behind how they treated the lead actress in that movie, it ruins it a little bit because they were not nice to her in the process of making that movie. Let's see. I like the first Saw movie. I know there's about 1 billion of those now, but the first one I thought was really good, even though Carrie Elwes is really horrible in it. Carrie Elwes as an actor is weird because he's so good in some things, and in Saw, I thought his acting was just awful. But I do love him, of course, in The Princess Bride and Robin Hood Men in Tights, and I love him in Liar Liar. He's the derpy dad, like the character that's Jim Carrey's foil, like the one that's dating Jim Carrey's ex-wife, and he's so funny as the like nerdy goober dad. So that's one of my favorite Carrie Elwes roles. I know nobody asked about that, but now you know. Let's see here. Is there any of the 18? Oh, you said that one already. Best horror themed board game. That's a little easier. I love horror themed board games. What about you, Ambie?
So Arkham Horror was like one of the first board games we got in like one of our gateway games, I guess. So
that's a heck of a gateway game.
Yeah, so we used to play that a lot, and that was a lot of fun. And then we played Eldritch Horror 2. What other horror? I guess, is Ghost Stories horror themed?
I would say absolutely. Yeah.
What else is horror? It's hard to pick a favorite. All of these are cooperative, huh?
There are a lot of cooperative horror games. Because I think if let's see, if you had a competitive horror themed game, yeah, it would be weird because like the crux of most horror stories is a group of people trying to get away or fight a bad evil thing. And so then that bad evil thing usually ends up either being the game itself or one player, which for Betrayal at House on the Hill, it starts it's not ever really cooperative because you aren't really helping anybody even in the first half of the game. Betrayal is one of my favorites, even though there are many scenarios in that game that are fully broken. But it was one of my first modern board games that I learned back in 2007. So I've always kind of had a soft spot for that one. I did get the expansion, the Widow's Walk expansion when it came out, but I've barely played it because the first scenario, the first haunt that came up in the new one was also broken. And I was just so disappointed because I thought after 10 years that they would fix those types of problems. And I'm not saying it's easy to design a game like that where you've got a randomly constructed house, the tiles are all who knows where, and then something switches and you have to create a whole new story and narrative and one person's against the rest or not. I know that that's really difficult to design. I'm not saying it's easy, but every time I run into a scenario where the rules are ambiguous or completely broken, it's just such a bummer. So, I do like Betrayal. Mansions of Madness, I love. I own both the first edition and the second edition of that game. And I've played that quite a few times. I'm trying to think of what other horror-based ones I really like. I've played Ghost Stories. It's not one of my faves, but I haven't played it a ton. So I guess maybe I would like it more if I played it more. It's hard. What else?
Oh, someone in chat said Dead of Winter. I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. I was really keen on Dead of Winter when it first came out, and I played it a bunch. I think I've cooled on it over time, but not for any specific reason. I'm less compelled to play it.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a while, but I do enjoy it when I play it.
James asks, Crystal, being from the Midwest, have you ever done Geek Way to the West? So I moved away from Missouri in the same year, basically, that I got into modern board games. So it was 2008 is when I left Missouri and came to Nevada. And I learned modern board games from my buddy Ben in Missouri, and that's how I kind of got into the hobby. I wasn't in the hobby hardcore at that point. I did not know Board Game Geek existed, even in 2008. And I know it had been around for quite a while before that. And I did not know that board game conventions existed either. So unfortunately, Geek Way to the West, if it existed at that point, which I'm not sure when it started, if it existed, I didn't know about it. So I would love to go to Geekway at some point, but it's really hard for me to go back to Missouri and end up on the east side of the state because I grew up in the Kansas City area. And like anyone from Missouri knows that like Kansas City and St. Louis have a pretty big rivalry. And it feels weird. If I were to travel to Missouri and go to the other side of the state and not go to Kansas City, that would be odd for me, especially because my family is on the west side of the state. So let's see here. Somebody said they feel us on the convention blues. Oh gosh, my chat just moved. Everything is okay. Live less than an hour away from Philly, so PAX Unplugged is the only one you go to. That totally makes sense. And yeah, that's why Ambie and I tend to, or in the past, we've stuck mostly to conventions on the west side of the country, which there weren't a lot of. And now there's more. And Dice Tower West is hopefully going to be something really big and cool going forward. We're just hoping to grow that a lot. And I'm excited about the potential there. Oh, somebody said they can't read my shirt. It just says disco. That is all it says. This is the crew t-shirt for Star Trek Discovery. This is what they wear, like the people on the show wear when they're working out or whatever else. So yeah, disco is short for Discovery. And I'm always willing to talk about Star Trek. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. Oh, I'm way behind on the chat, aren't I? Pyramid Pups. Yeah. Let's see. The Dice Towers look even more amazing in person. That is so good to hear. I have not gotten to see them in person. And I really, really want one. Silence of the Lambs, the only horror to win Best Picture and even won 5 big awards. I did not actually know that off the top of my head. That's pretty cool to know. And you know what? I love Silence of the Lambs. And I think that while his portrayal of Hannibal Lecter was amazing, I still think Mads Mikkelsen did Hannibal Lecter better in the TV show Hannibal. And I know that that's controversial to say, but Hannibal is one of my all-time favorite TV shows, which is weird because I don't like horror typically. And there's a lot of gore but it's weirdly beautiful gore in Hannibal. Like it is. It's the artistry and the filmography and the just like everything they did with that TV show, just beautiful. There were 3 seasons of it before it got canceled. I don't even know how it lasted that long, considering how gruesome it was, and it was on network TV. But if nobody has seen Hannibal, go look that up because it's good. Question: how are you liking the new Doctor Who? James thinks Jodie Whittaker is rocking it. Ambie, do you watch Doctor Who? I don't think you do, right?
Nope, I have not.
Okay. So I am loving it. I was so worried because I've always wanted the Doctor to transform into a female character. And I knew that there was precedent for that, and I knew it was possible. But I was worried because, we had Chris Chibnall taking over as showrunner. Stephen Moffat is out. So there were a lot of changes for this season specifically. And I've really liked it so far. Last week's episode, Rosa, was just so good. And Jodie has this charisma about her that is so much like the past Doctors and yet so unique at the same time. And I can't get over how wonderful she is. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm curious to know what they're going to do with, like, having 3 companions is definitely a lot. And I'm wondering if that number is going to get shortened or abbreviated at some point. Abbreviated? That's a weird term to use for less people. I don't know. I'm just going to move right past it. Let's see here. More Silence of the Lambs talk. Original Saw was a good movie. Have you guys played Shadows Amsterdam? It is the most exciting game coming out at Essen. I don't know anything about Shadows Amsterdam.
Me neither.
So I know I have not played it and I don't know much about it. Ambie and I definitely we don't have our finger quite as close to the pulse of the hotness when it comes out. Like, I think you and I still do a good job of trying to get to some of the hot games somewhat quickly, but we don't have a steady stream of like availability. If we were in Florida, we'd get all the same, we'd get to see the same stuff that comes into Dice Tower headquarters, which is pretty much everything nowadays, it seems like. But yeah,
but I don't have to play a lunch at BGG Con because they have a bunch of games there.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's pretty exciting. Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to trying at BGG?
No, I mean, I have not been like paying attention to Essen releases at all. I don't know. A lot of the new games don't make me excited anymore. I don't know.
I feel like there's an interesting, like you and I, once we started podcasting, like I feel like my opinion toward games has shifted, but not in ways that it's easy to explain in words. Like I'm more interested in new games in some ways, and I'm also less interested in new games in some ways. I don't know. It's odd. I mean, we started the podcast, what, 2.5 years ago? And we've been doing video content on the Dice Tower now for a few months, but not like a ton of it yet. So it's hard because I never want board games to turn into something that I have to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if, and that's the thing, like that doesn't necessarily mean I would never want board games to be my job, but I want to keep the love. And so far I've done a good job of doing that. And so I'm happy with the way things are for me, at least. Let's see. Otter says he thinks either Mansions of Madness or Mythos Tales is his favorite horror game. Otter, I know that I'm way behind in the chat, so I won't get to it right away, but I'd be curious to know which edition of Mythos Tales you played. Both Ambie and I played Mythos Tales, but we had the original edition from Kickstarter, not the one that got picked up after the fact by Gray Fox Games. And there were a decent number of errors in the Kickstarter edition. So much so that I don't like to use the word hate, but I kind of hated Mythos Tales. It's the original edition. Again, I believe that a lot of those issues got fixed. So I'm not saying that the game is bad, but I did not have a good time with it. So that is Matthew Jude's in the chat. He said, holy heck, I literally just got that. Discovery. I'm dumb sometimes. Yeah, dude, like the disco merchandise is on point for Star Trek Discovery. And they even have, like, there's one of the episodes from season 1 where they're kind of playing disco-esque music at a party. And yeah, they're leaning into the disco part of Discovery, and I like it quite a bit. Let's see. Do you think any of the new Star Trek series or shows will spawn new board games based on those storylines? I don't know, but please, yes. Please, 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 please. All of the Star Trek things. I want disco. I want disco board games. I want the new Picard series board games. I want board games based on the new animated show that just got announced this week. I'm so excited about all of the new Star Trek shows. I was young enough when Star Trek was in its like TV heyday, back when like there was Next Generation and then Voyager and Deep Space Nine all kind of on the air around the same time. I was young enough that I did not know how cool that was and did not appreciate it, even though I liked Star Trek as a kid. And now we're finally hitting another Star Trek renaissance, and I'm excited about it. I cannot wait for these new shows to launch. It'll probably be a year or two before any of them get going, but I'm very excited. Somebody did not like Mickelson as Lecter. Felt Hopkins defined the role. See, and I liked Mickelson better. I think he was more nuanced and more charming, which you have to be, like, to get to the point where Hannibal Lecter gets to be able to do what he's doing. I think you have to have like a charm and something. Anthony Hopkins played the like depravity well, but I don't think he had the as much of the smarmy charm that Mickelson did. But they're telling different parts of the story too, so that is something to be noted. Brian Cox did an interesting take on Hannibal and Manhunter from the 80s. You know what? I've actually never seen Manhunter, and I've intended to, but I never have. So I would like to see it at some point. Otter popped up a message. Played the first edition of Mythos Tales, but with an errata at hand. Second printing only has one error, I think. Loved the ambiance. Very cool. Well, I'm glad that you liked it. That's awesome. And our friends over at Gray Fox Games are the ones publishing that game now. So obviously, you know, we got to give them a hand for picking up a game that's interesting like that. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll back up a little bit. Have you pulled out any interesting questions that you want to answer, Ambie?
Someone earlier asked what our day job is.
Oh, I missed that one. Oh, yeah. The chat keeps flying by and I keep scrolling past stuff. So I work in marketing. I am a copywriter / project manager / kind of jack of all trades. My formal title is marketing communications manager. But mostly I do copywriting for the marketing department at a credit card company. Ambie, what do you do?
I work in sales compensation analytics at Salesforce. It's like a data analyst, lots of working with data, SQL, Excel stuff.
We have a lot of those types of people at my company as well. We have a lot of analysts and things like that. So anytime numbers are involved, gotta have people there to analyze them. Let's see. Last Friday is a great horror theme, but the game is pretty broken. I had heard very mixed things about Last Friday. I think conceptually it's very interesting, like trying to turn like a teen horror story into a board game. I think that's really interesting. And it switches at some point, right? Like the good guys are getting chased by the bad guy and then they're chasing the bad guy or something like that. I remember specifically seeing that like how the game functions changes in the middle of it. And I think that that's an interesting concept. Although I imagine it is, as you said it's broken. I imagine that's a hard thing to design for. Let's see. Did I miss anything else up there? I don't think so. Everybody said happy brunch. Yeah, happy brunch. What are our opinions on co-op games? I'll let you go first, Ambie.
I like co-op games. Yeah, that's it. Well, I like working together with people and like having that shared sense of victory or defeat. And also, if there's a lot of dice, I like co-op better because I'm really bad at rolling dice. So then I can share that experience with everyone.
What's your favorite co-op?
Oof. I'm trying to think of my top 10 list that we made. What was to go down? I think Robinson Crusoe was on there.
Robinson Crusoe was definitely high on your list.
Space Alert. No, Space Alert.
Oh, okay.
That's number 2, right? Yeah.
You would think I would remember, but I do not. Our whole making our top 100 was kind of a blur now. Like it's hard to remember all of that. I'm curious. I don't know whether you and I are going to do a top 100 this coming year.
I don't know.
There's nothing. I mean, if we did it in video form, it would come out on the Dice Tower. So I imagine that there is a possibility something like that could show up in the stretch goals for the Dice Tower's Kickstarter, but I don't have any definitive information about whether that will actually be the case. So if that is something that interests you all, maybe let Tom know next time he's doing a Q&A or send him an email if that's something that interests you, because putting together a top 100 is a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, that's cool. Slivers and boys are going to finish Stuffed Fables for Halloween. So that's pretty cool.
I guess that is kind of scary. The scary toys are... So it counts as a horror game, maybe.
I haven't even seen Stuffed Fables in person.
Oh.
I heard enough description of it to know that I don't think it's for me. So even though I like the cute stuffed animal aspect of it.
Yeah. But they have the scary little doll toys, kind of like in Toy Story.
Ooh, like the doll head on the spider body
legs. Yeah, they have a toy like that, like one of the evil toys. So I think that counts as horror.
I don't want. Nope. Too creepy. Rachel says, "Thanks for answering my question. You guys rock." Thanks, Rachel. You rock too. I just wanted to point it out. Let's see. Robinson Crusoe is one of Kabuki Kid's all-time favorites. And Ambie just disappeared.
Oh, sorry. I was typing in. I don't want to use my actual keyboard because it's loud.
Gotcha. No, it was just funny because I was like, and Ambie's gone. Let's see here. Okay, I think I'm close down to the bottom of the chat, so that's good. We can kind of keep up with stuff now a little bit. Brandt says, Castell has been his favorite game of 2018, but Kathy and I are playing Detective now, and it's really good. Ooh, okay. Yeah, no, Castell is definitely It's so high up there. I'm hard pressed to pick a favorite for 2018, even though like nobody would judge me if I changed my mind later. I actually just played Castell again on Thursday. I love it. And it's funny because my husband hadn't played it before, but he came to my board game meetup with me and he played it. And he was like, wait, this is one of your favorite games? And I was like, it is. I don't know why like Castell works for me in the way that most Euros don't, but I just love it so very much. And I didn't win. I was so close. I got second. I was, I think, 1 or 2 points away. I was so close. And I'm mad because I think I scored one of my festivals wrong. I think I should have won, but I'm not sure. So, whatever. But Detective is one I've heard some good things about. Tom just recently reviewed another game, though, that he said he likes better than Detective in the same type of genre, and now I'm going to be horrible at not
Chronicles of Crime, I think.
Yes, Chronicles of Crime.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of wondering, do I want to play Detective first, or do I want to just skip right to Chronicles of Crime?
Yeah, I played Chronicles of Crime at BGG-Con, the prototype, I guess.
Oh,
last
okay.
year. Yeah. It was fun, but like it felt more like an app than a game because the only game part were these cards that you scan with the QR code and then it like shows up in the app what's happening. So like the board game part of it seemed lacking to me. So I didn't know why it was a board game rather than just like a video game or something. But yeah.
Well, so Tom in his review was talking about how like if you didn't have the cards, that it would be hard to keep track of everything. Like if you were doing it all digitally, he said it would be difficult. So I don't know. I'm curious about both of those for sure. Let's see. Oh, Gary pointed out that we would want to check out Impact Battle of Elements. Oh, yes, we know. Ambie and I are definitely interested in Impact Battle of Elements. Although, Ambie, I didn't know until recently that the shape of the arena is different.
It changes, yeah. It's smaller now.
I don't like it. I'm mad. I haven't even seen it in person, and I'm already like, I hate you, Impact. Well, because my thought was, even if you didn't want to use the elemental powers or whatever, I was like, ooh, more people will be able to get strike, or the arena, because the arena is what makes strike. Like you can use theoretically any dice, any 6-sided dice to play strike. But yeah, the arena, that like the circular arena where the dice sometimes like fly around it and whatever else, like that's the magic. That's where it happens, and they've ruined it. And I'm not happy. I mean, I'll still play it, but I'm not going to throw it in the garbage if it shows up on my doorstep. Impact, go away. I'm definitely interested in that one. Does anyone in the chat know if Impact Battle of Elements is getting American distribution? Because I haven't heard about that happening, and it bums me out. Strike is so much fun. Has anyone played the Escape Room in a Box game, the Werewolf Experiment one? That one can be seen as horror themed. It's Tom's favorite escape room game. I have not played that scenario. Is that one of the expansion ones? Because I don't remember the name.
I think that one was on Kickstarter a few years ago, and then so it was like a separate one.
Oh, I'm thinking of Escape Room, the game. The one that's in a box with like the box with the keys and stuff. That's the one I'm thinking of. So I have not played Escape Room in a Box, the Werewolf Experiment.
I have not either.
I did not actually know that was Tom's favorite. I didn't watch his top 10 escape room games list, which I think he did recently. I'm assuming that is why this is.
Yeah, it was recent.
Yeah,
I want to play it.
Let's see. Timothy said Castell did nothing for me. You know what? That's fine. That's cool. You know what, Timothy? If you usually like Euro games, maybe I stole your liking of this particular Euro game, and I took it away and I gave it to myself because I don't like Euro games usually, and I love Castell. So I've caused at least one Euro gamer in the world to not like a Euro game for one instance. And honestly, it helped for me that it was taught to me the first time by Aaron Vanderbeek, who designed it. So like, it's nice to know that I'm learning the rules correctly the first time, like guaranteed. Timothy says he blames me then. Okay, I'll take it. That's fine. And I'm not saying Castell is perfect. either. Like, there are some flaws, but gosh, I love it. Chronicles of Crime is good, but Detective is better. Okay, so we've gotten both sides of it then. It sounds like I'll have to try both and make my own decision. Mm-hmm. Detective takes hours and hours. Chronicles of Crime is better for a quicker evening game. Okay, that's good to know. Root has been Timothy's game of the year. I've been curious to try Root. I haven't gotten to yet. Ambie, have you gotten to see Root yet?
I have not played it yet, but I'm not super interested in it.
Yeah. Well, because I'm not big into war games typically, but I like the theme of this one, that it's, animals in the forest kind of thing. Like, I would like to play it at least once. I did like Vast, the Crystal Caverns, so the asymmetric nature of it interests me for sure. Let's see here. They're no longer. Oh, okay. So they're talking about the escape room board game. Wish you could get the non-plastic one. Maybe an eBay or something, or find someone selling it on the BGG market. What is our favorite food at brunch time? Ambie, what is your favorite brunch food? And it can be breakfasty or lunchy. If you were gonna go to brunch, like, what is your go-to?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. So I don't like breakfast food as much usually. So I would eat the lunch food part, but I don't know what I want for lunch.
Are there any brunchy beverages that you enjoy? Like freshly squeezed orange juice?
I like orange juice.
Yeah.
What else is a brunch beverage?
Well, I think most people think of like alcoholic things like Bloody Marys or mimosas, but like there are also like, like fancy fruit juices or like antioxidant drinks, like things like that are kind of brunchy, at least in my mind.
Okay. I guess mimosas are fine, but I like orange juice.
Well, and I know like some places do fun mimosas where you can like pick what juice you want. So you can do like guava juice or pineapple juice or whatever. Guava juice is one of my faves. I love guava juice. And it's hard to get in the States because, well, it's not tropical here. My favorite brunch food is waffles, hands down. I love waffles so much. But honestly, almost any bready breakfast foods. I like a really good homemade biscuit. And I don't even like, it's weird. I grew up in the Midwest, which has a lot of influence from Southern cuisine. So like biscuits and gravy are a big thing in the South and in the Midwest. And I've never been a huge fan of gravy, but a really good biscuit with some butter on it. Oh, I could just, pancakes, all of it. And now I want food because I haven't eaten yet this morning.
Okay, maybe I do like breakfast food because I like waffles and pancakes and biscuits. I just don't like eggs, like scrambled eggs.
Okay, I don't like eggs either. And what's funny, I wish I did. I really, truly, I've tried eggs multiple times. It's such a like simple food and there's so many ways to prepare it. And I've tried a bunch of them and it's not horrible, but I just don't like eggs and it bums me out. Like eggs are staples in so many things.
I guess hard-boiled eggs. Or soft-boiled, but I don't like scrambled or over easy or any of the other ones, which is usually at breakfast because they don't really do hard-boiled eggs at breakfast.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't like any forms of eggs. I think like if I'm eating like fried rice from a Chinese restaurant and they have like scrambled eggs mixed into it, that's fine because at that point it doesn't even really taste like egg anymore. But I really do wish I liked eggs. I do. It would make things easier. All right. What is your favorite escape room game?
Is this board game or escape room?
Yes, board game.
Oh, I don't know. This is tough. Probably one of the exits.
I would say mine would be an exit as well. Although I don't know if I could. It's hard to remember specifically. It is weird to have experiences with these like consumable one-time board games because even if things are memorable in the moment, I tend to, as time passes, forget about the details pretty easily. Which is funny because like Ambie and I did an episode of our podcast where we talked about time stories and we talked about a bunch of the scenarios. And I've been thinking like, maybe we should do another one because there's been a bunch more scenarios. But I'm like, I don't know if I remember all the details of most of them at this point.
I definitely do not.
It's weird because you're stressing and powering through those experiences to get it done. And I feel like once the adrenaline drains out of my body, I lose a lot of the details. Although I will say I played not Exit, Unlock. Unlock is not my favorite. It's actually like below a couple other series, but I played the Tonopal's Treasure Unlock recently, and I did not like it overall, but the very last big puzzle was pretty cool. Like I had one of those moments where I was like, oh, that's what they were doing with those. That's cool. Okay. And then we had to figure it out or whatever. I'm obviously not going to give spoilers here, but I was impressed with what they did with the final puzzle in Tonopal's Treasure. So that was neat.
My favorite of the Unlock was the Wizard of Oz one.
I still haven't played that, and I want to.
It's called something.
Yeah.
I don't think it's called Wizard of Oz. It's called
I don't remember.
Oz Adventures or something.
Something like that. I've heard a lot of good things about that one specifically. Somebody asks, have I ever played Talon? It's basically like Starfleet battles. So Fleet Captains, is that the game that it's like? I've played Fleet Captains once, and I liked it. It's not my favorite Star Trek game, but I like it. And I've never played Talon before. I'd be curious. I might have to look up some information on that. Otter loves malt waffles with syrup. Any waffle. Give me a Belgian waffle, a malted waffle, a Stroop waffle, which isn't really a waffle. It's more of like a cookie, I guess. But I mean, they're good. And so, yeah, like malted waffles are a different style of waffles. And here in America, most restaurants serve Belgian waffles, which are like the big, thick, fluffy ones that are really crispy on the outside and then soft in the inside. My favorite style of waffle is malted waffles, which are what they serve at the American restaurant Waffle House. I love Waffle House, and I don't care who knows it. And I know that a lot of Waffle Houses are gross and dirty. I've never gotten sick eating one. But yeah, like the thinner waffles that are soft, like top to bottom, like not crispy on the outside. Those are my favorite. And if there was a Waffle House in Las Vegas, I would eat there all the time. Maybe it's a good thing I moved away from Waffle House, because that would not be a good thing for me health-wise. Let's see. Oh, and Otter also liked Tonopal's Treasure, so that's pretty cool. Just did the exit game with the murder on the Orient Express theme because it wasn't just puzzles. You had to pay attention to clues to solve the murder. That's pretty cool. I like that they're incorporating some unique things into those games. Have you heard Dave Luza's act at the Dice Tower live show in Essen involved Patrick Stewart? It was hilarious. You should check it out. I had not heard that since obviously I wasn't at Essen. I didn't get to see the live show. I'm interested now, obviously. Although anything Dave Luza does, I'm in for, because he's just so wonderful and talented. Like, he's just the best. So if he involved Patrick Stewart, I'm in now 200% instead of 100. And we have got about 5 minutes left before we're going to wrap this up. So if you all have any other questions for us about our podcast, about videos on the Dice Tower, about what we've been playing recently, about BGG Con, about the Dice Tower Cruise, which is now in... Holy cow, that's like coming up too. So that'll be like 2.5 months from now?
I don't know. I can't keep track of time.
So much. Oh my gosh. Never been in a Waffle House somehow. I don't think they are around me. So yeah, Waffle House is mostly in the South and Midwest part of the United States. There are almost none on the west side of the country. The closest one to me is in Arizona. I am not ashamed to admit that I know that, that I have actually considered driving 4 hours to get to a Waffle House. Oh my goodness. The live show was so funny. We almost died laughing. That's really good to hear. Let's see here. Yay, Belgium. Hooray. Anything that gives me waffles, I'm a fan of. All right. If we missed any questions up earlier in the chat and anybody wants us to answer, feel free to drop them into the chat again, because I'm going to scroll back up, but I don't know if we missed anything. Otherwise, we will be wrapping this up here in a minute. So Ambie, do you have anything that you've been playing with your game group recently that you're really digging, whether it's an old game or a new game?
No. Well, okay. I haven't been playing any game like regularly. Oh, I guess we started playing Gloomhaven. That's
Oh
a
yeah. And you
regular
talked about
game.
that on the podcast not too long
Yeah.
ago. Are you guys still continuing?
Yes. I don't know when our next game is because we are all busy. so it's hard to schedule because we have 4 players. So it's us and then our neighbor and his son. So just trying to schedule everyone to be able to be free is tough.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's been fun.
Cool. I talked about in a recent episode of the podcast that I finally got to play Welcome 2, and I now own a copy of Welcome 2. I bought it. So I'm going to be playing a lot more of that. I also got to try Reef recently, which I have the box lid of over here. Let's see. For those who aren't familiar, Reef is an abstract strategy game by Emerson Matsuuchi, who is one of my favorite designers and one of my favorite humans in general. And funny story, so not this year at Dice Tower Con, but last year at Dice Tower Con, Roy and Rob from Epic Gaming Night, who most of you are probably familiar with because they do stuff on the Dice Tower as well, they invited me to go to dinner with them, and Emerson was coming too, along with a couple other people. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm having dinner with a game designer that I like, because Spectre Ops is a game that I love, and Emerson designed that. And so Roy and Rob knew that I did not like Century Spice Road. So when we got to dinner, we had all sat down at the table, and I don't remember, I think it was Rob. I don't remember whether it was Roy or Rob, but one of them turned to me and like in front of Emerson, we're like, so Crystal, what did you think of Century Spice Road? And I had this like look of panic on my face, and I kind of froze up for a second, and then I was like, I love Spectre Ops. So I just diverted to another game Emerson designed, because I didn't want, like, Emerson is awesome, and I was like, I don't want to tell him I don't like his game. Obviously, he did not care at all. He thought it was hilarious, but I felt really bad because I was like, I like his stuff, but I just didn't like Century. So I was Roy and Rob were on my, bad list for a little while after that. But Reef is awesome. I was worried that I was going to like try this game and not like it too. And I was going to be really sad because since I like Emerson as a person, I always am hopeful that I'll like his games. And this one is awesome. I will probably talk about this more in detail in an upcoming episode of the podcast, or maybe this week's Dice Tower Tonight. I don't know. I haven't picked what I'm going to talk about yet for Dice Tower Tonight. So, of course, now we have a minute left and we have a bunch more questions, or a few more. Favorite old games or oldest games in our collections? What is your favorite old game? Would it be Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective? That's pretty old.
Yeah, that's pretty good. When was that?
It originally came out in the 70s.
Wait. Yeah, 1981 it says, yeah. Yeah, that's probably my favorite old game. Sherlock Holmes. And I'm done with it, so I can't play it anymore.
Right. Yeah, you've played, and you played all the expansion stuff too, right?
Not all the expansions, but those are newer.
Gotcha. For me, I think most people would not be surprised to know that like my favorite older games generally are the flip the table style games like Heartthrob and the Omega Virus, and I think Omega Virus is my highest rated on my top 100 of the like older games that I own. But that one came out in the early 90s, so it's not super old. I'm trying to think if there's any that came out earlier than that I really love. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I really do. I like the kitschy old like flip the table style games. Those things are fun. So
yeah. And then I was looking up oldest game in my collection. So I'm looking at on BGG games owned by year. And Go is the oldest game, negative 2200.
So there you go. Oh, Kabuki is saying Reef may be fine, but it looks abstracty, and I'm a hard sell on abstracts. Yeah, I actually like Kabuki. I'm not usually keen on abstracts either, so I was surprised that I liked Reef, and I like it, and I'm not a fan of abstracts usually. So maybe give it a shot at some point if you have the opportunity at like a cafe or a convention. And all right, we are about the time that we should be wrapping up, so we will say goodbye for now. But Ambie, thank you so much for joining me for my monthly Q&A.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was fun to be able to actually talk to somebody who can talk back directly. As much as I love talking to the chat, talking for an hour straight is sometimes more difficult. So I'm so happy you were able to join me. If anybody wants to know what you've got coming up, do you have any other videos coming out on the Dice Tower in the next couple of weeks, or are you just waiting for the next stuff?
Not in the next couple of weeks. No, I haven't gotten anything in the queue.
Yeah, so you guys will be able to see me on Dice Tower tonight this Wednesday. It happens to be Halloween. Note that our start time is 1 hour later than it usually is. So Dice Tower tonight will begin at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, which is funny. We're pushing it back so Tom can get done with all the Halloween stuff, but it's going to be in prime trick-or-treating time at my house. So I might have to turn off my porch light and be that scumbag. And what sucks is like my loft where my recording stuff is here is right at the front of the house. So this is going to be brightly lit. So people will know that I'm home and not giving out candy. And I feel bad about it, but I can't have people ringing the doorbell nonstop while I'm doing the live stream. So
I put a bucket out on the front, maybe.
Someone will take
all of it. Yeah.
Like, all it takes is one scummy kid to ruin it for everybody. But yeah, so thank you all for joining us. Keep it tuned to the Dice Tower for all of the awesome things that are happening going forward. And hopefully I will see some of you on Halloween night. I don't know if I'm dressing up. I should dress up. We'll see. But thanks for joining us for this month's board game brunch. And we will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.